Welcome back to the Mindset Forge podcast. I'm Barton Bryan, your host. Thanks again for watching or listening if you're listening to this on one of the apps. But hey, let's dive in here this week. Fantastic episode. We're going to be talking about EMFs, right? Electromagnetic fields, and how that actually affects our brain waves, our ability to sleep, even performance, and how technology, specifically phones, watches, and other kind of performance tools, can actually be a deficit to the type of performance we want to show up for, because we need to have our brains, our bodies kind of tuned in to be ready to be at our best. And that is not just for elite athletes, that's for everybody. So this interview is really fantastic. I learned a lot, and there's actually a really great fascial kind of ring out stretch that I had him take me through, which we'll do in this podcast episodes. I have been doing it not just by myself, but with my clients, to really help the thoracic rotation and mobility, and specifically the fascia of the back, just get a little bit more healthier and mobile. And so highly recommend it for you. So you'll find that in the episode about 42 minutes in, so be on the lookout for that. Other than that, we got the Biohackers World Conference coming up April 6th and 7th here in Austin, Texas. So if you haven't checked that out, look in the show notes. Use the 60% off promo code if you use Team Bryan when you purchase your ticket. Or reach out to me. There's going to be a raffle coming up in early March for a couple of tickets. So if you want to try to get into that raffle, just send me an email or comment anything on one of my social medias that you want to get into that raffle. Boom, you'll be added, and potentially you'll win free tickets. We'll see. All right. Hey, big shout out to Mary. She emailed me and wanted to do a review, asked me which of the apps I preferred. I always just say, whatever you listen to. Usually Spotify and Apple Podcasts are good ones to put a review on, but you could also do something elsewhere. It just really helps. And so thank you, Mary, for doing that. Big shout out to you. But today is all about Justin Franson. Right? He's from Southern California. He's a surfer. He's an athlete himself. And he's really spent the last 30 years focused on helping athletes and understanding how to really help people get at their best for performance. He's got a book called Athleticism, and he's got a website, athleticism.com, that really goes into his philosophy, the use of grounding rocks, the use of just like getting our bodies to, to really meditate and rest in the proper kind of wavelengths, because of phones, because of everything that we're using that has batteries. It's just putting out frequency that our brains have to kind of take in and understand. And so when we try to rest and recover, sometimes that's not actually possible because we're very sensitive to these wavelengths, and our body doesn't really get back to what that kind of wavelength needs to be able to rest and recover and get into parasympathetic recovery. So we go into a lot of stuff. It's awesome. I think you're going to enjoy this interview. I love talking to this guy. I didn't know him before, but as I did research on him and we spoke last week, I became a fan. And he sent me a nice little gift pack with a whole bunch of his stuff that he uses with his athletes. And so definitely check out athleticism.com. You can find his book there, and he's got other things that you can utilize to help your body recover and be at its best. All right, without further ado, my interview with Justin Franson. Justin, thanks for being on the Mindset Forge podcast. Tell us about EMF, the electromagnetic fields, and how you understand that, like that whole kind of world of EMF and how that can help us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Barton. I started out a Scripps clinic in La Jolla, your old stomping grounds from your San Diego State days. And we were working with the amateur and professional athletes. And so I was doing nerve work for sports performance, treating concussions. And I started athleticism.com almost 30 years ago. And what I saw were some of our athletes wearing wearable technology and breaking down from it. And so one of them in particular, Barton, was like one of the strongest, fittest guys to come in our program. And he's, Justin, I have pain in my wrist. And I said, which hand? He points right to where his smartwatch was. And that was just after the time that they had recalled all those Fitbits and all that stuff. And so I'm going, take the radiation off your wrist. And the pain went away instantly. And then his arm function started to slowly return. And so literally that was the aha moment. So it was over a dozen years ago where I just had to look into a deeper understanding of how we work with nature and how we're one with it and how different the man-made waveforms are.
And so how does that relate to the electromagnetic fields and what we're getting from nature in terms of like, I always felt, being a SoCal boy, like every time I went to the ocean and swam and like body surfed, there was a level of energy and rejuvenation that I it was almost palpable. So just maybe that's a little woo, but tell me what your thoughts are on like why this stuff works and why getting away from technology and getting back to a more powerful source can work.
Definitely. So you're exactly right. There's a way that nature, and we're one with nature, and that she helps recharge our body batteries, if you will. So being out into nature is probably one of the most medicinal ways to facilitate healing. And it's one of the most missed recommended ways to heal. And so the physics behind it is what we'll start with. We're made off of waveforms that are unpolarized. So our bodies have a bioenergy, a bioelectric field, like an energy field, and it goes out about 6 to 8 feet. And it's not just 6 to 8 feet straight out of my right ear in a straight line. It's a resonance that goes all around us. And it's same as the nature's resonance, like the sun isn't a laser dot coming out of a laser beam coming down out of the sky, or we wouldn't be here. Same as if you're standing outside barefoot, excuse me, you're not in the Schumann resonance here and then not in it here. It's literally a resonance that just is constant throughout the entire earth. So the other example,
Justin, real quick, the Schumann resonance. Now, this is, I know this because I've meditated to this sound, but for somebody who does not know what the Schumann resonance is, why don't you just give them a quick definition or overview?
Yes, the Schumann resonance is essentially the healing pulse of the earth, and it's measured at about 7.83 hertz or waves per second. So what I'm alluding to is every living organism, including our planet, has a resonance. And the resonances are based off of waveforms that are unpolarized. So we have this oneness with it. And to the contrary, all non-native waveforms are one directional. And at the end of the day, that is the major difference. Is if I dropped a pebble in a pond, the splash of the pond goes out in a circular direction in every direction, an unpolarized wave. It doesn't go in a straight line, one direction. That is the framework for every living resonance. And to second that is when we're sleeping, Barton, our brainwave states are really one with the universe. So we rev at a low and slow brainwave state. So if you measure a brainwave state, they call it a delta theta brainwave state when we're sleeping. It's that restorative state. We get in a rapid eye movement. The lucid dreams come out. Our brain goes into 1 or below 1 to 8 hertz or waves per second. So that's the 7.83 hertz or waves per second. So I take the hertz and convert it into waves per second. It's literally the same as the universe when we're in a deep restorative state sleep. And now when our athletes are in the flow state, they're in an alpha state, which is 8 to about 13 hertz or waves per second. So when we're in the flow state, we're really close to the resonance of the earth and essentially one with the pulse of it. That flow of that infinite flow, that rhythm that we can get into. Now, these cell phones ping us at 2.45 billion waves per second at a minimum. 5G is 60 to 90 billion waves per second. So there's a 10-0 differential You add 10 zeros to a bank account. That's a big difference. You add 10 zeros to a speed of a one directional waveform to our body field. It'll chip away at that to mess with the chemistry of our body without a shadow of a doubt.
Now, okay. And so if somebody who maybe doesn't know much about this, who's listening, who's, okay, Bart, you and Justin, you've lost me here. Why is this important? And you work with a lot of athletes and also lay people too. So we're going to talk about both, but talk about how this really can make an impact on how we, show up for fitness, show up for sports or whatever. Like, how does that then like transition into like the impact it makes on us?
So with athletes, the easiest way to get them better is to get rid of the stressors, just as I did with the radiation on that athlete's wrist. The same is true in their environment, at their home, or just out and about. If they're being inundated on waveforms that are polarizing and weakening their energy field, Bruce Lipton will say, your chi is indicative of your health. If your energy field is disrupted, your chemistry in your body, the secondary effect will be that's disrupted. So what we've seen is the sleep gets disrupted. So if you have your cell phone right next to your bed or on your bed or under your pillow when you're sleeping, what happens is we go into these twilight sleeps. So your brain tries to figure out what bandwidth that is. That's pinging at over 2.45 billion waves per second. And so it doesn't get into that low and slow state of 8 or below waves per second. And what happens is our endocrine system's disrupted, or that disrupts which is our pineal gland is directly correlated with that. It destructures our water. It's basically like someone's tapping you on your shoulder saying, Barton, talk to me. You're going, dude, it's 3 a.m. Like I got to go to sleep. And that's what the brain goes to. That's why we'll jump out of bed when these phones just are resetting or pinging or searching for a signal. So if you mess with someone's hormones and the replenishment of their body and the melatonin gets disrupted, their endocrine system gets disrupted, that's going to directly affect their cognitive the next day. They're not going to be as alert, aware, focused. And then on a top of it, maybe they have a 5G tower or something nearby, and then that's disrupting them while they're playing. So then they have the cognitive challenges of dealing with that stressor as well. And then what happens over extended period of time, what I've seen is about 10 years is the breaking point. So with about 10 years, then you see people break down from it not just being cognitive challenges, but going into the more severe stuff of all the bigs: cancer, suicide, diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, cardiovascular disease, and then infertility is another big one now.
So another reason to get off your cell phone is what you're saying. No,
many reasons.
Yeah, there's so many reasons. Yeah, this is let's talk about elite athletes, because I think sometimes, as much as it's not as relatable to think about like an Olympic athlete or a professional athlete based on somebody who's just living their everyday life, like sometimes it takes looking at somebody who's like really trying to achieve at the highest level to understand why they would do without certain things, and they would enhance certain aspects of their training and things like that. When you're dealing with a high level athlete, besides just pulling technology off them, get off your phone, take your watch off, what are some things you're doing to help them get as close as they can to that Schumann resonance and those types of things, to help them recover and get to flow state better if that's a part of their performance and what they're trying to achieve when they perform? Like, how are you doing those types of things?
Oh, that's an awesome question. It's loaded. The first thing I do is say, yeah, let's look at your environment. And so I ask everyone, what's your environment? And it's a tough thing to answer. It's everything around you, and it can allow you to thrive or it could kill you. And that environment could be external, from basically all the external factors of EMF in your space, or if we're in LA and it's polluted, there's all that pollution stuff. But then it also can be internal. And so what are you feeding your body? Are you feeding your body just crappy food that's modified with chemicals and glyphosate and your body doesn't know what to do with it. So we start with really understanding your environment and how you're feeding yourself and how you become one with that environment. We definitely want to recharge them. So I'll use an example of someone like that has a concussion. So if someone comes in with a concussion, I'm going to basically recharge them because they lose their polarity when something gets knocked that hard. And then we're going to rehydrate them because I think there's an epidemic of chronic dehydration, as one of our colleagues, Gary Lineham, will say. And when you're dehydrated, you cramp, your fascia doesn't move as efficiently. And what happens is the glue factory sets in for guys that are in our age bracket, the 40 to 60 bracket. It's the fascia being dehydrated. That's the single biggest challenge. So if we can keep that, hydration early on for these guys through adding silica in the body, through diatomaceous earth, which has silica in it, which is basically crushed seashells, add that in. And then Irish sea moss is another great one to get the minerals back in. That will help hydrate the individuals. So I look at, I look at the environment, and then I look at how to hydrate them and keep their fascia really hydrated and pliable. And then do fascia maneuvers, and then do stretching and breath work combined with it. One of the big things we do, where our athleticism program is really different than a lot of the other sports performance programs out there in the market, is we have one of the only ambidexterity programs out there. So we teach people how to be a whole body, whole brain performer. And I wrote a book on it. And we teach people how to juggle and have an array of eye-hand exercises and protocols that get you into that infinite flow, that figure eight, infinite flow of the universe. So when you're in that zone and in that flow, you don't miss. You just basically stay in your realm. And I know we both played basketball early on. You get on the court, those days where you just can't miss. That's the flow state that we look to get our athletes in through understanding environment and brainwave states and how they're one with each other, and then staying hydrated, and then allowing them to connect it to moving in semicircles and figure eights, and then doing exercises like juggling that also elicit a figure eight movement system.
I like that, because I think specifically basketball, like we could be I'm left-handed. I was very left-hand dominant. It was great on the left side. I had a few right-handed moves, but for the most part, very left-hand dominant. And I spent an entire summer just only shooting with my right hand, because at some point it became a problem. But yeah, I like how you're trying to integrate, because you got the right and left brain, or left side focuses more on the right side, left brain, right side of the body, and vice versa, and all that kind of stuff. And you're trying to, it sounds like, integrate it all to help that person create that with figure eight, which is a great kind of way to see that flow state of like energy passing through a figure eight. So it's what I'm hearing from you, and for those of you listening, he's really looking at, okay, where is this person at? What do they need? Where are they deficient? And not just talking about macros and let's give him some vitamin C or some creatine, but like, where's he deficient in the hydration of his fascia? And so you mentioned crushed up seashells. I'm imagining that you're getting a lot of sodium and other like kind of base minerals from that. Where have you determined that works better than Himalayan sea salt or whatever the salt of the day is at Whole Foods?
Yeah, because their body's about 25% silica. So when you can add back in exactly what we have, you're going to get hydrated more optimally. And it's not to take away from Celtic sea salt or zeolite or Irish sea moss. You're getting those minerals from the sea back in your system as well. You got to load up on minerals. If you just literally had clean intake and clean water, like more like spring water, you even structure it, that's great. And then added diatomaceous earth, Irish sea moss, and you can add in some magnesium, whatever. Like literally, you don't need to do much more for your health than to add in fascia maneuvers and understand how the fascia works. And the way it works from Gary Lineham's work is through counter rotation. And counter rotation means basically you're going to hug yourself, right leg goes across your left leg, right arm goes under, and then you twist like a golf swing one way and your head looks the other way. And then you breathe 3 through your nose, 3 through your mouth. When you can unwind those fascial adhesions and allow it to create space in there and then give it the proper nutrients to hydrate it, your body's going to heal. It's phenomenal. So it's the most incredible free system to heal and elevate performance, because everyone looks at our body differently. So what they're looking at, Barton, is they're looking at it as like a pulley system, and that bones are structure. Bones only touch each other in 3 parts of the body, in your teeth and your ribs. It doesn't make sense that they're structure. The fascia is the structure. The fascia is everything in your body. Everything is built inside of the fascia. And so when we can figure out how to unwind it, and I feel Gary Lineham's done that, and his system's called Human Garage, that is the way to help facilitate healing and performance. It's just through fascia maneuvers and hydrating yourself. And that's why silica is so effective.
I've heard, obviously, physical therapy is always injury or, soft tissue stuff. Oh, I got to go do my PT or prehab now. It's always the challenge with it all is that really the root cause? So many times being a trainer, people come out, oh, I've got tendonitis elbow in the elbow. Maybe it's tennis elbow or golfer's elbow or some version of that. And I'm like, yeah, how's your neck? How strong is your rotator cuff? Let's talk about the stuff going on up here that's making your wrists or grip you're doing too much with your arms. But oftentimes they go in and the PT will just give them exercises to strengthen their forearm and their wrists and such. And I feel like that's a challenge with our society. We want to spot fix the body when the body as an organism is a system.
Yeah, it's a system, and I want to interject here. It's a pressure. Go ahead. Go for it. I was going to say
I had a guy. I'm sorry.
3 for 3.
So I had a guy on about 6 months ago who was a fascial expert, and he was he explained it like the fascia of your body is like a wetsuit that if your fascia is knotted up or something, it's like almost like somebody sewed the wetsuit too tight on one part of your body, and it's just hard to move correctly. But go ahead. So tell your point of view. I just like that analogy.
Yeah, it's a good analogy for sure. It's a pressured system in the body is how it works. So, excuse me. And when you can wring it out, I think of it like a wet towel as well, where if that towel is just sopping wet, here's a wet towel analogy is a perfect example of it. Your body just gets weighed down, and it's restricted, it's heavy. When you can wring it out and allow it to still have form and structure, but be fluid and pliable and absorptive, that's where the fascia works. And through these fascial maneuvers that Gary's really brought to the world, it's free, and you can unwind the stuff and you can heal anything. And it's not, so the soft tissue that the docs do, that's great. They can open up the stuff. And if I'm going to work a pec, I'll pull the skin down on my pec and then twist the arm and turn my head every direction and breathe. And all of a sudden I'll have so much more range of motion in my arm. So there are localized fascia maneuvers that you could do throughout your body to unwind the fascial adhesions to get more circulation in there. But at the end of the day, what you really want to do is have the whole body pressured system. And when you're twisting and contracting your abdominals and your bladder and all that stuff, you create pressure, and you're like literally wringing that towel out. And then through the breath, you're breathing it in. And what happens is the body gets more powerful and expansive, and the fascia gets stronger and has developed more connections, I feel. And so what I've seen doing that type of work is I've gotten healthier, stronger, and faster. And I surf. That's one of my things I love to do. But I never was a swimmer, like a racer swimmer. And I'm beating guys that are like seasoned swimmers in the pool that used to be able to beat me. And now I'm blowing them away by half a body length. Like, it's crazy. Like when you could beat a true swimmer by half a body length on a 25 sprint, that's massive. So those are the types of gains that you'll see when you start to look at hydrating the fascia and doing these maneuvers and adding breath work in.
All right. So I like to get practical when something really valuable pops up like this. You've mentioned it a little bit, but let's do it right now. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're not driving, not a time to do it. If you're sitting somewhere where you can do this and have focus, why don't you Justin, talk me and the listeners through this fascial ring out.
Yeah, so go ahead and stand and cross your right leg over your left leg. If you're seated, you can still cross it and do it seated. Put your right arm under your left and then put your left arm across. Yeah, and hold your shoulders. There you go. Now you're going to do a golf swing to the left, and then your head looks to the right. So I'm looking at you. Now let's contract your stomach and do 3 breaths through your nose. That's 1. Contract your stomach. That's 3. Now 3 through your mouth. Contract. Now let's do 3 pursed lip breaths. Deep breaths. Good. Contract your stomach and then 3 pursed. That's 2. And contract. And 3. Now slowly release. Slowly release. You should feel a little lighter. A little more energy flowing. And so it's...
Do you do that on both sides, or is it?
You would do both sides. So you'd rotate the other way, okay. And then you would switch legs and then arms.
Right.
Yeah. So do 3... Yeah, 3 breath and then 3 pursed on all sides, and do that every day for 28 days, and your life will change in the most positive way. Period. End of story. I guarantee it. And set 30 years of working with amateur professional athletes, as that is the most incredible thing that I could ever show you.
So those of you who listen to a lot of podcasts, you probably hear these types of things, but like, why not do it? Why not? Justin is giving us 30 years of his perspective working with athletes, helping people really fix themselves and get to a higher level. This can work for you. So give it a shot. Justin, thank you for sharing that. And honestly, sometimes it's going to the gym can be so hard for people because an hour and it's sweating. This is a 3-minute activity once a day for 28 days. Am I correct by that?
You'll get so into it. It might end up being more like a 20-minute activity, and you'll absolutely love it. And so what's going to happen is it gets you out of a sympathetic nervous system and allows your body to get out of the fight or flight and to start to heal. You're doing so much. You're filling your body with oxygen, nutrients. You're breaking down adhesions. You're pumping that flat tire up is what you're doing. So you're giving yourself more vitality, more energy, and then you're getting out of stress. And so just doing these things is massive for it. And then complement it with a diatomaceous earth, which has a silica in it, and get your Irish sea moss. Find a really quality source. Human Garage sells it. And you guys, that is it. Just 28 days of that. You should just feel absolutely amazing. And there's so many others we could show you. I was just chatting with a couple young med students, and we were just in the same location at the same time. I had a captive audience. And so, med students at Georgetown. And I'm like, okay, what do you want to be? What do you want to be? And they're like, orthos and this and that. And so I'm like, okay, what do you guys know about the fascia? And they're like, well, you cut through it to get the injury. I'm like, no. So I was urging them, I'm sitting here, I'm going, this will be the best lesson that you've ever had in your entire medical career. And we started doing some fascial maneuvers. And I go, please ask your instructor, your MD, your professor, if he can make your ears feel that much better instantly, if he can make your shoulder feel that much better instantly, if he can make your knee feel better instantly, ask him that. Ask him how he can make you feel like 100% lighter instantly. And I guarantee you they won't know how to. And if you ask them about fascia, they won't even have any knowledge about it. And so we're not taught this stuff. We're not taught about our environment being air, which is ether or plasma, and waves and particles travel through it. And that's how we're able to communicate. And if you change the electrification of our atmosphere, that it affects our body. But there's books like The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg that categorizes all the history of electricity in life. And every major shift, there's effects on our body. So before 1889, we introduced electricity into our homes. There were solar flares and cosmic shifts, atmospheric pressure shifts. Our bodies adapted to it. After, it was electricity and then major electrifications. Like when we rolled out radio waves in 1980, that was a lot of people got sick and adapted. And then Hong Kong flu, satellites were rolled out. And then World War II, radar. And then the last several years, 5G. They literally, when they poison your environment, our bodies adapt to it. But they don't teach us that these waves and particles directly affect our REM patterns of our sleep and our hormonals and can dehydrate us as well. And then our bodies just are like, what the heck is that? And we end up adapting to it through getting sick because we're detoxing, we're flushing that stuff out. So we have to really unlearn so many different facets of our world. And unfortunately, every major industry has been all for profit and not about really teaching us the right ways to do it. So I'm out there on the cutting edge saying, hey, I have a cool system that we can get you to perform better. But more than anything, I want to raise your level of consciousness. So you create to that infinite flow of the universe. You connect to God, you get grounded by the earth, and you recharge your body battery properly by breathing in minerals. Hopefully we get it from our food. Drink great water for conductivity, get it from the sun, get the negative ion charge from the earth. If you're missing any of those elements, that's how our body battery works. If you don't have water in a battery in a car, it dies. It's the same as that system for our body.
And the thing about it is, we can survive. The human body is meant to survive almost anything, right? And we are all surviving right now. But to thrive, to be optimal, to optimize your energy, to optimize your sleep, I'm like, this is such a big part of this phase of our life, because when you're 20, like, you're just a big rubber band with Energizer battery in the back. You're unstoppable. You have all this energy. You recover. You can have a all-night drinking fest with all your buddies and wake up the next morning with 2 hours of sleep and just run through the day. But when you're 40, forget about it. Like 50, I'm about to be 49 in a week, and I am in the thick of it. And we have to figure this stuff out. We got to figure out how to be, not just survive, not just be okay. We got to be optimal. And that's why somebody like Justin coming on here talking to us about this is lights out, like something you can take right now and put in your world and say, I'm going to incorporate more hydration. I'm going to do these movements, this kind of breath, fascial ring out, which, what was the word you used? I like your words better. What do you
No, exactly that.
Ringing out the fascia.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just something you can do right now that can help you be a lot better, especially if you're dealing with some nagging injuries or just the body gets stiff. And we talk about mobility. We talk about range of motion. I just did a yoga class this morning. The person that walked in there and the person that walked out are two completely different people mentally. I walked out light. We did so much thoracic, like ringing out of the stomach, and it's like they were onto it thousands of years ago. Obviously, we know so much more now about what that's actually doing for the fascia, but they understood back in the day with yoga that there was an important point to like twisting the trunk and getting that rotational stretch and wringing out the body. And so literally today, position hold, twisting across the body, holding it there, reaching up, opening up the thoracic. Like it was amazing how that changed my perspective, how it changed my body. And so Justin, bringing us this information, what else can my listeners take away that would be kind of, you could go deep into a rabbit hole, 30 years of experience working with athletes and talking about this. There's an infinite amount of information you could give us, but what are maybe one or two more things that would just be dynamite for them to grab and take with them?
The coolest thing, Barton, is it's free. Get outside into nature and get recharged and regrounded outside in nature. Go barefoot as much as you can. So on emfrocks.com is our site for our grounding bags. I'm on Instagram at EMFrocks and then at athleticism neurostacking. But on EMF Rocks, I posted a few videos just recently with a meter, SLT.co meter. That stands for Safe Living Technology meter. It's a wireless meter. So I was just hanging out in my car in my neighborhood. I was testing my car, and my neighborhood was really low EMF from the surrounding areas. And then I turned on my center console, and then the Wi-Fi is on in my car, and I had my phone Bluetooth off, or Bluetooth. My phone was on airplane mode, Bluetooth was off, Wi-Fi was off. My car is an older car, so it doesn't have Wi-Fi, it has Bluetooth. So when the center console goes on, the Bluetooth goes on, and it was started pulsing and pinging, looking for my phone, and the meter's like jumping. And it's similar to smart meters on our home. They're wireless meters. They ping every 7 to 15 seconds and send all your usage to the substation onto the gas and electric company. These Bluetooth devices do the same thing. And so my meter was metering extremely high wireless signals. And so I'm like, that's crazy. So I turned my Bluetooth off and the thing goes down to low. Then I drove and I got gas, and I was in the city near my office in Costa Mesa, and I turned the meter back on, and it's extremely high, but everything was off in my car. And so I'm like, this is our environment that's around us. So basically, we're being inundated at record levels. We're self-inducing it with Bluetooth and wireless and all these brand new cars and electric cars. They're the worst. I want to get into that after. But this Internet of Things outside of us self-inducing smart devices in our world and our smart homes and all this stuff is really a lot as well. They're rolling out more satellites than ever, dropping phased array, one directional beams to connect to these stations, and then they're just broadcasting like crazy all over. So our bodies are bathing in wireless electromagnetic radiation, and we are electromagnetic beings, but we're on unpolarized scalar waves. They're on one directional waves. So it slowly chips away at your life first. So the best thing you could do is to get out into nature and touch a tree, hug a tree, go barefoot, ground yourself as well as you can by getting into bodies of water. And you're so right. I do really well in the ocean. I'm in it pretty much every day. No matter the temperature, no wetsuit. I free dive, I ocean swim, I'll body surf, and then I'll surf as well. So I'm in it all the time, and your body just heals. If you're focused on treating the symptoms, oh, I have this or that or whatever, stop it. Go focus on feeding your soul and recharging your body batteries, and those symptoms will go away. If you're beating yourself up over, I have this disease or that disease, whatever it is, like literally stop focusing on that and go do your fascia maneuvers, hydrate, and go get grounded by nature outside. Get into the bodies of water. And when you can't get outside, Barton, grab the grounding bags from emfrocks.com. And what happens is you bring that coherence into your home. So you create an environment in your home. You bring that resonance in your home. And then all of a sudden, these one directional waveforms, these electrical boxes that we call home, they get converted and our bodies accept this stuff. And that's what the grounding bags really help you do. So long answer to your question, get outside in nature and then get the grounding bags when you're not outside.
And for some of us, it's cold as hell outside right now, but spring is a-coming. So there's no better time, whether you're in LA like you are, Costa Rica. I mean, I spent so many summers Newport Beach trying to surf the wedge. Body surfer. My uncle was a big body, like back in the wedge crew 70s. He was one of those crazy guys. And so he's always bringing me down there to surf the wedge. But yeah.
Which uncle?
That's one of his name's Chuck Gardner.
Okay.
He wasn't in the wedge crew because he was too alpha. He fought with those guys, but him and Wedge Mel always fought for him. I don't know. I don't understand it, but they're all broken at this point. And
that's respect.
Beings, but they're much respect. But anyway, so yeah, that I miss that about living away from the sea, but it's definitely, you can still get out walking on the grass at a park, go walk on a trail. Just go out, get around, get underneath a tree and read a book, sit on the ground. Not just good, doesn't just sound good. It is actually good for you. And also, hey, leave your phone at home.
Oh, yeah.
So I love it, man. Justin, okay, you gave us a little bit of information on how we can reach out to you or how connected you got athleticism.com. We'll put all this in the show notes. If you're listening and don't feel like you got to write this down, do you have a YouTube channel where people can listen to some more of you're talking about this or showing examples of how this stuff works?
Yeah, Justin Franson. We have a lot on there. And then gobeyondsummit.com. We have all our recorded videos and yeah, a lot of places you can find me. Just punch in my name and we'll pop up.
Yeah. Hey, do you do any workshops like for practitioners or like trainers, people that could come out to Southern California and like work with you for a weekend? Do you do that type of stuff?
I haven't had many seminars as of late, and I'm looking to create an online course so we could teach people the stuff online. I would encourage you to just buy my book right now. And when you get that, you'll be able to see basically all the fascia maneuvers, or not fascia maneuvers, but exercises that we do for coordination in that. It's basically walks you through the entire system of how we look at an individual. And then for the fascia maneuvers, just go to Human Garage. But I definitely want you guys to really understand, how we're one with the nature and how we connect and how all this stuff interplays and start to tie all these facets of it from exercise to nutrition, hydration, our invisible environment, and then get meters to meter the electricity and dirty electricity and wireless signals. Keep away from electric cars because sitting on a massive battery is like 18% lower testosterone. And then convert your smart meter to analog. There's ways that we can coexist in this world to help us stay hydrated. And Ibrahim Karim, last note, Ibrahim Karim is the founder of biogeometry. He'll say if there's any climate change, it's mostly from the dehydration from the wireless signals dehydrating our planet. So our bandwidths we're rolling out are really devastating for our environment and us. And you can hear the sound of it when we go underwater. Most humans can't hear it above water, but that's the sound that our body hears that chips away at us.
Well, Justin, I have really enjoyed this. I knew I was going to learn something, but I'm just really honored to have this opportunity to talk with you. I hope as listeners, hope you all took some notes. Definitely go back. Maybe listen to that time when we went through the breath work and the wringing out of the fascia. You can check the show notes for his links to check out the YouTube channels and get his book, Athleticism. It's whole body, whole mind equals performance. So he is on top of this stuff. Thank Justin. There it is right there if you're looking. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Barton.
And I look forward to learning more about this stuff. For more information about Justin and his programs, athleticism.com, or check out his book. It's called Athleticism. I just got it. The man sent me a nice little gift pack. He had some, of course, his book in it, some other, some grounding rocks, some different things that I can utilize. So check out his website, athleticism.com. Find out more information about him. All right. Keep up the good work, everybody. Let's be 1% better each and every week. Thanks again for listening or watching this on YouTube. Hey, hit that subscribe if you're on YouTube, or follow for more of these episodes on any of the apps that you use to listen to the Mindset Forge podcast.